Welcome, everybody, to the Giant Slayer TV Team Fight Tactics Fates regional qualifiers for North America. I am Doe. With me are Crowan and Keen. And today we have the final lobby, the final 8 players out of 24 that started the weekend. We're going to see who gets those 4 qualifying spots to the next tournament, who gets some cash, who gets some bragging rights. But more than anything, we're going to see some awesome team fight tactics. I'm hyped. Keen, how you feeling?
Feeling excellent. A long weekend of some good games. Hopefully we get no major gaffes today. People all on their A game, or maybe we get some gaffes. It'll be fun.
People can count to 9. We'll see. We'll see. Yep, Keen, he's got a shirt unbuttoned. He's like relaxed. He's chill. He's ready to go. Crowan, how do you feel?
I'm feeling good. We're going to learn how to count to 9 today for sure. Now, there's a lot of great competitors that made it into the final 8, and this is like, the peak of TFT NA competition. So excited to get into it.
Absolutely. Let's check out our format that we've gone through this weekend. It's been a lot of games, but it's been great. We have followed 6 games each day here on the broadcast. All of the players in the tournament have played 6 games apiece on day 1 and day 2. The lobbies got swapped around based on seeding and things like that. But now today we have day 3. We have 5 games, and we're just going to go straight up by points. Who has the most points at the end of 5 games? Simple, sweet, and we will determine who the qualified players are going to be. And speaking of those players, let's check out what our final lobby breakdown looks like. And this is a fantastic list. A couple notable exceptions on here, but overall, this is an extremely strong group of 8 players, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it is. All of these players definitely phenomenal. It is kind of surprising to see a couple of them there. Notably K3 Soju right there. He hasn't had the best tournament performance in the past, but is kind of switching things up here, making it to a final 8, and perhaps this could be finally a Soju win for a tournament.
Yeah, who are you looking forward to checking out, Keen?
So I think there are 2. So of this list, 6 people you would recognize, and the 2 you don't really recognize are probably Boomer and Zapper and Newbowl. So I'm really excited to see how those 2 in particular perform in a field of otherwise really either popular streamers or beyond just being popular. They've always been at the top of the ladder. Right. Newbowl right now is a top 10 player. Boomer and Zapper's been really high up there as well. So I'm excited to see how these 2 perform in a lobby of quote unquote superstars.
Yeah, because all these other players, besides the 2 that you mentioned, have not just top of the ladder experience for a long time, but also a good amount of tournament experience, honestly, if you look at those 6 players. So it's going to have that going into it too. So players, the 2 players are 2 newcomers to this top 8 are going to have to really kind of like keep solid, right? Keep that mentality in check and try to stay calm during all these games. We've got some prize pool stuff to look at. Let's see what's on the line for these players. Obviously, the cash is great. Lets you focus on TFT a little bit more in life, helps you become a better player just by virtue of being able to dedicate more time to it, of course, if you're able to finance some of your life by winning. But a big part of it is that 1 through 4 spot are also guaranteed invites to the set 4 qualifier for NA number 2. So that's going to be the next big tournament in North American teamfight tactics. So being able to just auto qualify for that through top 4 here, have another chance at more cash, another chance at more points that we're going to look at in a second is a big deal, isn't it? Yeah, let's take a look at those point totals for the tournament here. There it is. And as you can see, we have a pretty big difference between 1 and 2 here. That's like a big part of it is that you really get a lot more for first place, but everything 1 through 8 is going to be pretty solid.
Yeah, if you're 1 through 8 there, you get, up to 31 points. And we're talking about, at the end of the 4 qualifiers, the top 12 will get invited. So if you're already making top 8, you're already well above par to make it there to that end of set championship.
Yeah, the extra buffer room between first and second, you see there's an extra 12 points. You can basically get first, and then that qualifies you for the next one. And you can get 24th in the next one, and you're still sitting at a combined 61 points, which puts you like about 2 8s, which is really all you need to qualify to the final regional. So getting that first just gives you one really bad tournament where you could just turbo low roll and just have the worst day of your life and still be fine, so long as you can capture that first here today.
Right. Ideally, anyone who wins a tournament today would be a player we'd see in, the finals later on for set 4 next year, So there's a lot to play for sure. I'm excited to just get into the games. We're going to do that in just a moment. But first, we have to shout out, we have the pleasure of shouting out, I should say, our great sponsor, Juke.gg, who has been with TFT Esports since the very beginning, supporting the scene, supporting a lot of tournaments, a lot of the ones we've had here on Giant Slayer TV. Although, hey, we're on Riot Games TV as well, but it's a Giant Slayer tournament. So anyway, yeah, Juke.gg has been amazing. If you type !GSTV in chat, you can find a page where you can watch all the player POVs. If there's one player in particular you want to study, you can sign up to win prizes throughout the weekend, which ends today. So make sure you go and do it. You can also type !scores in chat as well to get access to a document that's going to be updated throughout the day in case you want to keep track of who is where on the total points as the drama ramps up. But thanks again to Juke.gg for being awesome sponsors of TFT Esports. And it's time now, ladies and gentlemen, to jump into the very first game of the day here. We're going to jump on board with Aegon as we get the carousel started. And I kid you not, every time a game loads, I still look at the top of the screen to see what galaxy it is. I can't shake that.
That's just so ingrained from set 3, but we're kind of well a ways into set 4 now, Noah.
I know.
We gotta be, not quite paying too much attention to that. But no, we're
Still
starting off with
do.
Aegon here. And Aegon, I think, is one of the favorites to actually perhaps take a tournament win. He's had really good tournament performance in the past. He's coming off of being the top point earner in day number 2. We had the interview with him yesterday and provided a lot of good insight there. So I'm excited to watch Aegon here in this day 3.
Yeah,
we
me too.
Starting with a Rod. He mentions liking the Rod start yesterday in the post-game interview where we had him on. This is something that I see Sox like to gravitate towards as well. I also am a fan of the Rod start. It just has a lot of good items you can build and kind of start building the win streak early. And I think he's looking for a kind of a stable start. Nothing major right now. He just wants to make sure he doesn't have a bad start to the day. And I think the Rod is a really good way to get there.
Well, getting Keeper right off the bat, he could end up selling that Jarvan for a couple gold, but speaking of strong starts, one of the stronger early synergies you can rely on in the very early stages of the game is definitely Keeper. So I'm wondering if he's going to hold on to this or if he's just going to use it for a bit more gold.
I feel like he might actually opt to go Garen here and go for some Warlord start. Notably, Aegon is have the Warlords in right now, and they do get buffed up for winning these neutral rounds, just to get a bit more of that HP, a bit more of that spell power as well. But actually not buying the Garen there, didn't get any gold. Now has an option to go Warlords, have a pair of Jarvans. There's a lot to decide here and not a lot of gold to do it with.
Yeah, I feel like the shop is certainly trying to lead him in a Warlord direction, but that can be a bait sometimes. And like you said, he doesn't have the gold really to do it unless he sells the Elises. So what would you do here, Keen? This is a tough board to, or tough shop to kind of consider.
Yeah, it's really awkward. The Warlord starts really weird if you don't have the Chosen. I think it's a very strong comp if you can hit a Chosen unit, but I don't really lean towards it without Chosen. Unlike Cultist, where you play that even if you don't have a Chosen unit. I would definitely pick up that Jarvan though, just to have the pair.
Agree.
So I definitely would have also kept the solo Elise. So I'm kind of surprised he sold both of them there.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, and he's thinking about selling this Jarvan. At the end of the day, like I mentioned earlier, you can do something like Keeper Warlord at level 4 for have like the 3 Warlords in and the Elise, which is a very strong early game. So I am a little bit surprised he decided to ditch that. Yeah, what do you think, Crowan?
It is an awkward early game. I mean, there's only a 2 gold start here as well, so not too much that you can actually do. It sells the Nidalee pair there to put in a Maokai just for that brawler buff, a bit more frontline. There was the option that he had in the shop to buy a Teemo, go a couple of sharpshooters, and put Ludens in the Teemo. I think that would have been a good early game option as well. But choosing the Warlord, and something to lock it, I don't dislike this, but it's not going to be strong enough to win rounds. Going up against Non-Tom here. Non-Tom will almost 4-0. Okay, it kills 1 unit though, but still a rough start for Aegon overall. No pairs either. Maybe the Chosen will bail him out. It's a Warlord Nidalee, so I mean,
the game wants him to
really
go Warlord.
Yeah, I was gonna say the game really wants some Warlord action here for Aegon, and I mean he has 4 of them so far.
Yeah, you have to take that one. He mentioned yesterday as well that he likes the Locket Slam on the back line. It's something that both him and Sox have been big proponents of. Just getting that Locket value on the back line, it's extra 375 shield on your units. That can be the difference between a Talon getting a reset or not, or dying to an Ashe Hunter proc. Just a lot of little things get nullified by the Locket, which I think just helps you stabilize, especially in the early game. It's just a good HP saver, which is a style that he has talked a lot about recently. Is just, hey, let's just save HP early and not worry too much about having perfect items. I just want to make sure I have good health, and then I can kind of figure it out from there.
Well, Kyun's got a pretty strong early board too. You know, Yasuo too, Tom Kench too. He's got a Kindred in there as well. So that's just a lot of damage incoming, and a good amount of health actually at the front lines too to keep Kyun winning some of these early rounds. So while Aegon has a pretty decent early board, he's running into some pretty strong ones on the other side as well. But there's a Jinx. So do you maybe think about sharpshooters a little bit more seriously now?
Sharpshooters is kind of awkward from this spot. I mean, if it was a sharpshooter chosen in Italy, maybe you can consider it more. But even with that in Italy, you don't really want in the end game composition. 6 sharpshooters doesn't really run too much anymore. 4s generally, where you want to be at. The Jinx is still nice to have right now as a unit. She's going to be doing a bit of damage. So you have the 2 sharpshooter buff with her in Italy. But yeah, probably not a serious sharpshooter direction unless you sell the Italy later and find another sharpshooter chosen like a Jinx or like a Jhin at that point.
Yeah, I should have been more specific. I was thinking as far as like the very early game comps, like would you throw in the Jinx, which he did right away, but
yeah,
I wanted your opinion on that.
It's a good unit. Jinx is one of those units that can do a lot of damage even at level 1 early. But again, I would be shocked if he's stuck with a sharpshooter with this kind of start. It's a sharpshooter isn't a comp that you can pivot into. It's a comp where if you're high rolling already, and let's say you're high rolling fortune, and that's what you have on the board. You have 3 fortune, a couple sharpshooters. Maybe it's a comp you decide to commit to when you are high rolling. But when you are behind, like he is right now, he's on a 3 loss streak. It's really difficult to pivot into a comp that's already weak, right? So it's just a good thing to keep in mind. If you are weak, don't pivot to a weak comp. That's not gonna save you.
True. Yeah, we see players sometimes even get stuck in that they try to pivot just to a weak comp because it's the only direction that they have, and they end up, still being weak. They can't go level 8. They're stuck on 7, rolling it down, trying to get all their upgrades, and they just eventually go 8th at that point, and that could be a kind of trap to run into if you do try to go sharpshooters, which, again, as you said, it's hard to pivot into.
Well, sometimes too in the mid game, especially, or like the late early game, early mid game, you get a little bit hung up on some of the synergies where sometimes just putting together a board of significant 2 stars can be just a stronger board in general, even if you kind of lack 2 or 3 synergies here.
Yeah, it's definitely a kind of a mismatch Sox playstyle, and as we go to mismatch Sox here, we'll see how he's going to pilot this early game. And yeah, it looks a little interesting. Like there's just the Silas chosen, there's the 2 duelists in there with Jax Callista. You got a couple divine now, just a bunch of random smattering of synergies. And we've been saying it all weekend, but this is very much a mismatch Sox board right now.
I like it. I think it's he's proven time and time again, obviously, to be one of the best players in TFT, but just to have, I think, one of the best takes on the game as well, which is just to play extremely strong, play extremely flexible. Don't worry about what's quote unquote good. Just do what you know is good in the moment.
Yeah, the Silas chosen early is also one of my favorite chosens. If you can hit the Aphelios as well, that guarantees one of them will be 3-star through the mid game. I sit on that board a lot, even through stage 4, without selling the chosen Silas. So I think he's looking to see if he hits a couple of these Aphelioses here. It might end up keeping it, but either way, definitely the Silas is going to be a good health saver going through stage 3. But you did see him fall to Aegon there, who ended up pivoting up to 4 sharpshooters and did quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, I was wondering if that was going to be an option. Speaking of options, you got a guarantee. You've got some fortune stuff in here.
The double Lux. This is like the dream of every low elo League of Legends comp, right? There's always like 3 Lux mains on your team, and they're always fighting for it. So here you are. You got the double Lux. It's like the a little bit of one for all to it.
Yeah, just a little bit. On the other side, Nubel there. If that Elise is a chosen cultist, that's going to be 6 cultists already, and it is, as we see the Galio slam down being 2-2'd.
Yep, that's right. And that's going to be a board that makes short work of what Sox has going.
That's an elite or Evelyn too as well. That is not that's not a legal board at this point. Need to pause and do an investigation onto legality here.
Oh, that's super strong. To have 6 cultists pre-Krugs is actually way too good, especially having an Evelyn 2 on top of that. Everyone's HP is mostly okay. We have a couple outliers at the bottom. Mismatch Sucks at 76, still not bad, but Soju actually down at 66 HP. I'm not too worried, though, honestly. Sometimes Soju is a player that's comfortable with going very low HP and then, turbo spiking, as you will, on, say, like a 4-1 roll down or something of the sort. If his roll down then is kind of doomed, then it may see a fast A from Soju, but he has the potential with his playstyle. He's comfortable with recovering from here.
Right.
Yeah, he's also started slow the last couple of days, so maybe he's staying true to form. Is like, hey, starting strong. Obviously, I don't know how that's going to pan out, but if I start weak, I know I can come back. So he's getting the bad luck out of the way early.
Takes a little while for the Soju to awaken, I suppose.
Sax also sold the Aphelios there, which is pretty interesting. I think a lot of people would have kept that to maybe hit for that Aphelios too, but Sax is pretty comfortable just playing the Silas by itself. Well, he does slam the Diana in here to get the level 2 value. I was surprised. I thought he would play the Callista to get the Duelist.
I was wondering if he was going to sell this because the Thieves' Gloves items are so bad for Lux. Maybe just put it on somebody else. Go for better items. There we go. That's a little bit better.
A lot of magic resist there, but yeah, I mean, the Thieves' Glove Slam is a very mismatched Sox move there. He does love that item a lot, and I think that is a good sell, actually. The pair of Luxes is kind of expensive. If you get her tier 2, it's kind of awkward to have the Thieves' Gloves kind of stuck on there, but with Jax, it's going to be a unit they're comfortable with selling once we get a little bit further into the game, and Lux is just going to be a huge carry in of herself. She's already taking out units just by herself here, but the CC potential that Lux provides allows her to fit into so many comps.
Yeah, I mean, that's a Lux 1 topping the damage charts. Rough start for Sax for sure. You can't hold those pairs. It's I don't know if it's necessarily a mistake, but it's probably a mistake. It's a pitfall. I see a lot of players that are still trying to figure out the game is to end up holding a lot of these 3-cost units, the pairs in the bench. You're like, whoa, wow, if I hit this unit, it'll be very good. You have to be able to identify which ones are worth holding and which ones aren't. And Lux is kind of a supportive 3-cost unit as opposed to being like the primary carry of any comp, as opposed to like a Callista, which could be a primary carry through much of the game. So Callista is a unit you would hold and Lux you wouldn't. So it's just a matter of identifying which ones are the carry and which ones are the support.
I think part of that too is he did a good job of, kind of riding that line, right? Where he held on to it, but then when he had a chance to jump up to 50 gold, he sold. Obviously the Thieves' Gloves not rolling the items you'd want helped with that decision, but doing a good job to prioritize the economy.
Yeah, might actually win this round against non-Tom. There is a ZZ Rod though, so it will be close. Let's get some ult off here.
ZZ Rod is pretty strong.
Yeah, no, the Silas does fall before Lux CC comes out. So, I mean, hey, the Bucks will bit go to ZZ Rod. ZZ Rod slaps. It is a very, very good unit to have in the early game.
150 AD, right?
Yes,
a lot of AD on that thing.
I mean, that's one of those situations. It's like a horror movie. The blonde girl getting attacked by the monster in the final hour, right?
Hey, but you never know. You could have like a Ripley situation, aliens. She could like turn it around,
Yeah, I mean,
the airlock or like jump in the power loader. See, if Mech was still a synergy, could have maybe done it. Could have maybe fought it off.
Maybe once we see Lux 2, we'll find something like that.
Lux is coming back later. She's taking down names. She's like, I remember you. Like, this is the beginning of the movie. By the end of the movie, I'll become battle hardened. I'll have weapons.
That's right.
Let's go. Sax also hits the Callista here, which is a very strong hit in the mid game. Like the Callista is just a really, I think, underrated unit by a lot of people, but I love Callista. She can kill a lot of the front line. That is kind of like right now in the mid game, it's just a lot of beefy health units as opposed to hard CC. So Callista cuts through them really quickly.
Yeah, unfortunately there the Galio did jump down damage and CC the Callista there, so she didn't end up doing too much, but now in general definitely she is a really good mid-game unit. But Sox is chaining loss streaks right now. He is still towards the bottom of the lobby. There's a huge HP gap between say even like 6th and 7th. Aegon 75 HP and Sox down at 58. There's some catching up to do here. But with Sox's playstyle as well, I think he's going to be comfortable enough to just make some slight adjustments moving after Wolves and still be strong that way. I wonder what direction he goes, because there's a lot of options from here. I think that Sox can utilize.
I never try to guess Sox's direction.
He's got the ability to make a Guardian Angel now, which is just a good item to slam. He's got the Chalice as well, so I wonder if maybe he's thinking Ari. Otherwise, those two items can go on different carries, and you could have an Enlightened comp, of course. My brain always kind of thinks Enlightened. It's like, what's good for Morgana? What's good for Talon? He's got two good items there. He doesn't need to slam the GA right now because maybe you kind of want to keep that loss streak going to Wolves anyway. But let's check in with Soju and see how his board is going right now. A little loss streak, but overall, not a terrible looking board. A lot of 1-stars, though.
The fortune chosen, the fortune chosen Jinx with no third fortune is very, very awkward. I probably Soju just took the best chosen that he could get at this point to stabilize, stop losing HP. But it's really, really awkward to not have fortune with this.
48 health. This is bad. This is not health you particularly like having halfway through stage 4, let alone halfway through stage 3, right? So definitely a rough situation for him to be in. The double fortune just feels like it's like that fake rich almost, where it's putting on airs,
Pretty much. Is he gonna actually win this? I think if the Wukong ults again, it's gonna be tough.
I believe Wukong wins this, yeah.
Should, yeah. Okay.
That was
But-
close. The Sunfire's doing a bit into taking that damage, but yeah, it just wasn't coming out fast enough.
That's fine for him, though. I think he wants one more loss exactly like that. At this point, you might as well take the 4-loss streak into the carousel, and
Yeah.
you're going to have level 7 and 50 plus, about 60 gold to roll down, and that's where you just turn on the music, you turn on your hype music, and you just start going, you just pray.
Sure, yeah. You just crank up the Naruto theme song, and you're like, "It's time. Let's go." Sorry, Sensei.
Yeah.
This time I have to go all out.
Yeah, he's probably looking for with the setup right here. You see him holding a lot of Dusk and Keepers on the bench, so it's probably looking to pivot into a Keeper Dusk kind of mid game here.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
It's interesting because we have the conversation as well recently about players who are, having to be in a situation where they roll down on 4-1 versus going a slow level 8. It's kind of that 4-1 versus 5-1 roll down. But if you're towards the bottom of the leader or towards the bottom of the lobby in HP, you're gonna have to do that 4-1 roll down and kind of just pray. We're gonna know like the fate of Soju in just a couple of rounds here, if it's doomed or if it's saved.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, the top of the lobby just so strong too. Nubal has the 6 cultists that he hit super early, just carried that win streak all the way in. Nubal will probably sit and go fast 8. So this is a really interesting unit here. I think a lot of people would take this, but Soju is definitely sitting at 40 health. He's saying, look, I can't take something that's suboptimal. I need to hunt, and I need to get lucky here and find the chosen ribbon, the chosen Jin. I think those would be the units that can really get him back into the game.
Yeah, he's got dusk options. He's got cultist options. So, he's got the beginnings of some things. He's certainly not out yet. There's some strong comps he could put together depending on the roll down, but it all kind of depends.
Then he rolls a couple bells. This is definitely a sad game for him.
Awkward items for sure. Maybe make like a Zeeks or a Hodge with that or something of the sort.
Yeah.
That chosen Lux isn't what you want to see here. Upgrade a Vein 2 and a Plague 2, but still not really what you need here.
He just skipped over
this cultist.
Yeah, it's a duelist chosen.
Well, it gives them 6 cultists, which is the big.
Yeah.
Right here. You kind of have to run it at this point.
And then you sit, hope this is enough to win.
I mean, I guess Callista can be, one of your carries in cultists anyway, and if she's giving herself the duelist buff, it's certainly not ideal, but if you're in Soju's situation, I think you kind of take what you can get at this point, and if you come out of the 4-1 with 20 gold remaining, so much the better.
Yeah, this is a strong board.
Unfortunately,
he has 40 health, so being strong doesn't really matter enough here. He needs to be like the strongest in the lobby. He can't really afford any more losses on this stage. This board should hopefully allow him to win at least 3 of these fights, so he could potentially drop down to maybe 20-25 health and still have a couple fighting chances and get a better roll on stage 5. But he'll definitely be selling that Callista at the end of the stage. I don't see him holding this the whole game.
Yeah, there really is no room for forgiveness if you're in Soju's spot, as you're just talking about. If he loses another round, doesn't get that win streak going to get some of that gold back, it's going to be really rough, because not only is Soju at 40 HP, but he's also kind of poor as well. 30 gold is not terrible. You can recover from this situation, but you need to make sure all these rounds are win here. Soju's not actually doing too much scouting. He's basically just trying to reposition his own board. Maybe think about how he's going to pull off this mid-game into late-game transition.
I like the basic plan, though, in that it seems to be to sort of utilize 6 cultists to sort of semi-stabilize while he looks for Dusk, is what it kind of seems like at the end of the day.
Yep, just collect some ribbons on the bench. This is it was a good transition. I did this a lot when I played more Dusk. Is a lot of people, when they roll at 7 and they think, hey, I'm gonna play a Dusk comp, it's really difficult to actually hit 4 Dusk with a 2 ribbon, but it's really easy when you're rolling down to hit 6 cultists. And I think that's the better stabilization, is people need to look at it and say, hey, I need to be strong right now, not necessarily what end game units I'm going to get. And it's about finding a good transition comp, and 6 cultists is one of the best ways to transition to a 4 Dusk comp.
Yeah, I think it's looking pretty solid, honestly. He's won 2 rounds in a row now. Who did he play? He played Aegon the first round, who's not exactly in the top 4 of this lobby. I can't remember who he played in round number 2, the one we just saw, but
Kiting had a really, really weak board. It
oh,
had
okay.
one
So
graded unit. So
So it
Yeah.
seems like a few people in the lobby may not have hit that much on a 4-1 yet, or either, weren't trying to. So maybe a chance here to kind of stabilize a little bit as he goes on to the number 1 person in the lobby at the moment.
yeah, kind of
Nubal,
lobby. So
Well, looking okay. Looking
Nubal
really
is level 8 already. With still with 30 gold though. That's really, really early level 8 there. But still being 30 gold, I think is really, really good for Nubal. Yeah, Nubal's not too worried about that loss though. I think if Nubal rolls down after Raptors, utilizes this lead, utilize the HP as a resource, and utilize that lead to then just have a lot of gold to roll down with later on. But it's fortunate that Soju runs into these matchups because this is exactly what he needs to get back in this game.
he really needed weak players. This Callista has been doing a lot of work for him.
goes for the Negatron cloak for possibly another chalice. We'll see what he ends up doing with that.
The items are kind of like they're really, really ambiguous, I suppose. Like they're not going to be specialized for any specific unit, but they're going to be like generally good ones that you can fit into that dust comp. You can make okay into the late game though, but they're not going to be as optimized as someone else who got a bit more of a forgiving start to tailor items a little bit more greedily.
Yeah,
I'm
super
bored with non-Tom now as we check out a different perspective here. So sharpshooter, interesting. He did hit the sharpshooter Jinx chosen. He does have a Shojin, so I mean it's a good chosen item combination.
Shojin Jinx
in there, yeah,
usually indicates you're going to commit to it.
Yeah,
when you see the Shojin, Jinx is one of the few units I think actually where Shojin is best in slot. I can't think of too many other units where you're sitting there saying, "Hey, I really, really need Shojin to hit a power spike," but Jinx is definitely right up there, and perhaps this could be enough. The sharpshooters are still a little awkward. I think they get farmed by the likes of these like talent comps, but he does have the ZZ Rat to help out here.
I think another little awkward point with this comp right now is that he's got the chain vest on Riven, and although that can turn into a Bramble vest, he does have the 2 item components for a GA, which would be great on the Jhin, but we'll see what he is able to come up with in the next couple rounds.
That ZZ was so clutch in that fight, actually. It pulled the Talon off of the sharpshooters, and then Talon like jumped over to where Jarvan ulti 2 jumped back, but then it was just really awkward, and they never actually got to hit those sharpshooters. Jinx had a couple of good ultis there to stun him out, and not Tom. I mean, that's really good. This is the value of ZZ to protect your backline in a comp like this.
Jhin 2, pretty strong.
The ZZ was really funny. The way that Talon kind of whiplashed back and forth. A little fortunate for him. Luckily, it was just a ghost, though, so nobody got punished for that weird interaction.
Only forgiveness there for non-Tom.
Exactly. Oh, I like this, too. Moving the Zizrat to the backline as well. So make sure to get the Keeper Shields onto Jinx to the maximum. But look at this Aurelia walking all the way around to try to get to the Zizrat. That is the power of that item right now.
Really, I took a little trip. Not sure that was the best pathing there, my dude.
Aurelia's magical journey. Yeah.
Wukong as an item holder not working out so well for Boomer and Zapper. Talking about that's really weak, and you might want to sell it, around Krugs, but Boomer and Zapper is actually taking it until Raptors now, going to stage 5. That is probably one of the reasons why Boomer and Zapper is at 29 HP right now. Not feeling too good.
He has dropped a lot over the last few rounds, unfortunately for him.
You should have a lot of money, at least. If you see somebody sitting on a Wukong chosen at this point in the game, they're probably trying to fast 8. And fortunately, he took a lot of damage there. But, if you have a lot of money at this point in the game, I think it's really good. If you see the rest of the lobby kind of rolling at 4-1, it's going to mean their econ's not going to be as strong heading into 5-1. So this being the second place where players will really spike, it doesn't really matter if you have low health so long as you start winning, right? Like TFT, you can just win with 1 health. That's all you need.
Oh, it's so good. He finds the Bramble Vest or the GA for Jhin. Honestly, they're both great slams. Maybe I do like the GA a little bit more. What do you guys like better? That's a hard choice.
It's a dead sword on Jhin if you don't slam the GA. So I think it has to be the Frozen Heart with the GA here.
Yeah, I mean, it's the last time you're going to get individual item components probably in the game. So it makes more sense to go Frozen Heart on Riven and GA on Jin. Yeah.
Yeah. In this scenario, definitely agree. In the scenario where non-Tom didn't already put the sword on the Jin, it could be a Bramble on the Riven, and then a second Shojin on the Jinx.
That would be
It's a
ideal.
bit awkward though, because the Riven will only have one item. Bramble, albeit, is one of the best items, if not the best item on Riven. Still a bit awkward there, and overall, I might still like just GA on the Jin. Jin is going to be one of the pivotal carries in this composition right here that you're relying on to make sure he survives and cleans up in the fight.
Absolutely. Big Sejuani ult, though. That might have given the Jin time here.
Oh, this Kane.
Maybe it's going to be close. Use the GA in action. Can he beat the Kane?
Nope.
Nope. I should have known as I said the sentence, can he beat the Kane? The answer would obviously be it's Kane.
I mean, Duskbat, RC, it's got really great targeting when it has those items on it. This is a really awkward comp for non-Tom right now. So you got 4 Duskin, but 4 Dusk actually only buffs the Dusk units. And if you look at his Dusk units, they're all super weak. Like you got a 1 Pain, you got a 1 Thrash, you got a 1 Cassio, and then the Riven only got 1 item on it. So if I were him, I would start looking to figure out, hey, should I consider just pivoting entirely out of 4 Dusk here? Because it's not really giving me enough value to be worth at the moment.
I think maybe at this point you look for something like Cultist Mystic, right? Where you put in like a zillion if you find it, and then you put it in an Aatrox over the Thresh or something.
Even getting a couple more keepers, up to 4 keeper could be a better play right here. It just the 4 Dusk gives you no value when you're sitting with weak Dusk units.
Look how this tournament meta has evolved, actually. Kiting is hard, taking a page out of Asian Gamer's book and running this Zed with the ninjas right there. Asian Gamer no longer in the tournament, was eliminated yesterday, and so if you're kiting, you're going to go into today, and it's not going to be contested at all. It is a good comp as well, and kiting is sitting at the top of the lobby with this. It's very, very interesting, actually, taking that approach.
Do you think kiting DM'd Asian Gamer yesterday? Like, hey, man, that you're out here, would you like to pass the ninja way onto a pupil?
Go back and watch the VODs too overnight, maybe.
Yeah, Kiting actually was doing VOD reviews yesterday of all the games. I was checking out his stream. I didn't see all of it, but he was checking out Mismatch Socks, Aegon, and Soju. I wonder, he probably did go over Asian Gamers comp as well, that stream, and then be like, hey, this seems pretty good. I'm gonna run it. And
good idea.
Yeah,
Crowan, like you, I think we could say you're probably one of the most well-known pros for like researching your opponents in tournament situations. And I would imagine your answer is going to be yes to this, but like, does it make a big difference, do you find?
Yeah, I think it does make a difference. If you, just know what people are practicing on ladder, it honestly can give you an idea of what they're going to bring into tournament. It's like, okay, if I want to run a specific comp and someone else is contesting me, I might be less willing to. Oftentimes, say like in this meta in set 4, I don't think it's as big of a deal as say like previously in sets like 2 or 3, but it still obviously does make a bit of a difference. And you want to be doing your research when you're going into huge tournaments like this.
True.
We see Boomer and Zapper unfortunately got eliminated. I'm actually curious. I would like to talk to him. If you are holding the Wukong Chosen for that long, I feel like it might have actually been an accident, because this has definitely happened to me where you forget to sell your Chosen before you roll, and at that point you're kind of stuck with it. I'm kind of curious what happened there, because he was in such a good spot where holding that Wukong felt like a really strange play.
A part of it too is normally you would just sell a Wukong regardless by that point in the game. So I do wonder what happened there. It must have been kind of funky. That said, checking out Kiting his Hards board as we moved over to that, found the Aatrox, so gets the keeper buff in there. I guess he already had it, but now getting the Aatrox Sand Soldiers is a nice little kind of extra bit of health for the opponent to chew through. And that's a strong board right now. The double ice cream cone is interesting on Pyke, but it certainly is going to buff up the Zed.
Not only is this a strong board, but it's strong econ that Kiting has as well. He is on track to not only go level 9 soon, but already has the Z3 as well, with double Chalice on the Pyke. Everything's kind of lining up for Kiting here. Even doing it, dare I say, better than Asian Gamer in most games. Maybe just a bit of a high roll scenario, but I mean, going up against Nubal here, the Zed's going to be really happy farming that Galio and probably will win this round. Yeah,
this Galio is just losing all its damage, just slowly being sapped, and this Zed is becoming so strong, especially with the double ice cream cone. It just means you're stealing more AD with Zed.
Right. It's one of the best parts about this comp, actually, as Cultist has become a little bit more popular lately since that rework that they had a patch or two ago, is that even we just saw, like, that was a 9 Cultist Galio. That was a Galio 3, right? And that just ripped it apart.
He's so strong. This is what I see Kiyun do when he plays. This is exact positioning as well. It's always flush to the right with Zed in this corner. Zed gets a really nice jump up to the top there. And with the keeper buffs in, what he's going to look for at this point is a Zillion to replace the Elise. And that leaves him with a 9th slot to play pretty much anything. Usually it's a Kayn to finish off the 4 Shade in this situation. And he should be able to hit it considering his econ this game here. This is a very strong spot to be in when you're trying to hit a top 1 here, but unfortunately, it does sometimes struggle with the Talon matchup, depending on whether Talon jumps to it or not, especially with a Giant Slayer hitting the Zed, which is, of course, over the health limit because it's 3-starred.
Yeah. So that was a loss for kiting then. And again, yeah, those comps are going to be a problem. Wow, Soju with the double Luden's Morgana as well. So some pretty powerful stuff on that side.
Soju's got his patented Runan's Hurricane on the Talon there.
Yep. He's been doing it so much recently, and it seems to be working out pretty well. Non-Tom did drop out in that last fight in 7th place, but the middle of the pack here is pretty close in HP. You know, Aegon at 28, down to, Nubal at 13, but 1 or 2 matchups, and we're going to get to our top 4 and see how this game number 1 shakes up.
So Nubal had that really strong cultist start. I'm really curious what happened with his game here. That's a start where I learned from last couple days where I didn't say anything because I didn't want to jinx it. I would have said, hey, this is a guaranteed top 4 considering the position he was in. But you look at him now down here, 1 fight away from being bot 4 after such a strong start. It's got to be a bit of a bitter taste in his mouth.
Yeah, if Nubal runs into kiting again, that's just going to be an elimination there. Nubal has the 9 cultists, so is strong, but some of these matchups are not going to be favorable.
Yeah, pretty much. Finds a Jin 2, and that can be a little bit of a power spike sometimes, but yeah, ultimately people are kind of figuring out this cultist thing, it seems like, especially in this tournament. And we've seen that meta sort of develop. Finds the Kalista too as well.
Yeah.
Oh, Soju didn't have the Talon. That was somebody else's Talon. Soju died to the Talon. I see.
It must have been Kiyun's then, I believe, because I think those two faced up. And Kiyun on a win streak. Sox on a win streak as well. But yeah, we see Soju with the double ice cream cone Riven and the Jin in the back there.
This is what we expected when we saw it a little bit earlier. Was he'd go into a Riven comp? It seems like he stabilized with a similar comp as I believe what Non-Tom was running. But as you see, Non-Tom has been eliminated.
Yep, that's right. And now another big dose of damage done to kiting his hard. And this is the thing with the Zed comp is it seems like in some lobbies it just dominates, and in other lobbies you get some of those strong Talon boards. You get the Jin that if the Zed doesn't jump on it can just one shot it from time to time. So I'm still not sure how I feel about this comp. I think it looks like a really fun way to play the game, and it looks like a good comp, but I don't know if it's worth going every game. And I don't think we're going to see Kiting His Hard do that today. But just thinking back about what Asian Gamers has done over the weekend, it's interesting to think about. I like it, but I don't know if it's that forcible,
Yeah, he's high old enough where it's still he's still in position to top 4.
Yeah.
And you're definitely going to be happy with that, no matter what at this point in the game. Just trying to get a strong finish to start the day. But this is going to be a real tough matchup for him right here. This Talon is going to be nasty, and it all depends on whether this first reset leads to the Zed or not. So you see it jump over on the Zed, and unfortunately, it kills the Zed. So if that happens, you're going to lose this fight almost every time.
Kills the Zed. Yep.
Yeah.
That's
I swear over the last couple of days.
Himself here.
Yeah, I swear over the last couple of days, we've seen this matchup go mostly in favor of the Zed, the Talon not having good fight RNG, but then 2 times in a row right now, the Talon does find its way to the Zed, takes it out, and kiting all of a sudden was in a really good spot, but after 3 losses has made top 4 actually. Soju eliminated in 5th, but kiting could go out in 4th potentially.
It does become easier to position now, at least. He knows he just fought Kiyun, and then that leaves Sax or Aegon. So you can kind of just guess in one of those two. Because it resets, you're not guaranteed one or the other. But if you're looking at it, you're looking at this board and you're saying, hey, I probably have a pretty good matchup into this Ari. So I should be more worried about the other board.
We'll see. Trying to decide who to drop that final sword on. Yeah, why not give the Akali a little bit more damage here? Going up against Aegon, who just hit that Lilia too, actually, from what we saw. That could be pretty strong in terms of shutting down the Zed as soon as the QSS is over. But the question is, how much will Zed kill first? That is a strong Sejuani too. Holy cow!
It's really difficult to beat it when they clump in the back there. So what happens is a lot of players, when they're playing Arya, they don't realize that they have to clump their units as well. Because when you clump your units, it forces the rest of the board to collapse onto your comp, and that means they're in a tighter composition. HX will then pull in a couple more units who aren't necessarily moving forward into that. So it forces everything to cluster, and it lets the Ari have much better targeting with her cluster bomb. So Definitely this is a really interesting final matchup here between, or not final, I guess there's 3 people left, but it's a really weird matchup for the Ari until one more person dies. Then you can kind of reposition depending on who it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Almost hitting that Yone 2 needs one more. This is Zillion. You
Ooh.
always want to put in the Zillion, but can you really? It doesn't seem like he thinks he can fit it. There's a Shen too.
Yeah, Keen's making IE Jewel Gauntlet on the bench here. Let's see who it's gonna go on. It could be the Set. If Set gets a good ulti off, that can win a fight. And yeah, it is gonna go there.
It's just a lot of crit scaling on that. So just one ult from even a level 1 Set is going to do so much damage, especially if it's something like that Sedge that just has so much health.
He's watching the other fight. Okay, now it goes back to that one.
Sometimes I do that too, where it's like I don't like watching my own fight because I feel like I jinx it somehow. So I'll go watch the other fight.
Sure.
Ooh, that's a good set ulti.
Ult there. So Aegon's gonna take a huge chunk right here. All eyes are on what's happening on Sax's board.
Sox is losing, it looks like.
Sax will lose this. The Yumi's still alive.
Yep.
Yep.
So everybody's still alive. 8-4-4 are the HP totals in the game right now.
A double kill right here.
I think it's well, we have to see it. I guess it's possible that you have one person beat the ghost. No. Yeah, okay,
it's possible.
Person eliminates it. So we won't definitely have a double kill, but it's possible.
This is a good spot for Ari. I feel like this is really easy for Ari to position because Ari can sit here and say, hey, I'm against 2 players who are playing this backline or this talent that's going to jump onto my backline. So I just kind of got to cluster all my units into a corner. I'd feel pretty good about that if I were him.
Right.
Keen not caring about the Yone shield there, opting for better positioning for the other units.
I guess so, yeah. Wow, look at how slow they're attacking with that adept trait on the other side. That really kind of took a lot of early damage out.
That talent got stuck. It was hitting that mark for so long and just couldn't even finish it. So he's just out on that.
Double kill. Mismatch Sox.
Oh, wow.
He's going to win lobby number 1.
That is crazy. Mismatch Sox doing it. And that's this is just such a skilled player here. We saw Soju and Mismatch Sox both in scenarios where they were struggling in the early mid game. The difference was Sox was able to recover just a bit better and turning out, going to 4 HP but still winning a lobby there. It was really, really close, but such impressive stuff from Sox. And this is the kind of performance that you do expect coming out of him. He's such a good player, and we saw the results right there.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the units he had in the early mid game. He was running the Callista. He had a weird Jax. He had the early Thieves Glove Slam. You look at that board, and if you told me, hey, he's definitely going to go towards this weird talent comp and win the game with the talent comp, I'd be like, you're a prophet, man, because Sox whatever he hits, he plays. That's what's made him the best player across most of the set is his ability to just figure it out. Doesn't matter what situation you're in at the beginning, as long as you can keep a cool head, as he managed to do, you can always snap back in the game. You need 1 health to win, and he ended up doing it.
Yeah. Sox was so close to a big win in set 3 towards the end of it. I feel like set 4 is his set, though. I feel like at the end of the day, like this is, of all the 4 sets we've seen in TFT so far, this is the one that seems kind of tailor-made for Mismatch Sox's style. So I anticipate, no matter how this particular tournament ends up, we're going to see Sox go real deep in whatever finals we have down the road.
Games, and he's bottom 4 just once. That is
an
incredible run. The bot 4 was a 5th place game. So, hey, yeah, if you're him now, you take those.
It's pretty good. You definitely do. Let's take a look at the scores after game 1, just to review how the first game of the day broke down. Of course, we know that Mismatch Sox did win it. Aegon Kiyun a close second and third. Kiting is hard in 4th. Meanwhile, bottom 4, Soju at 5th, Nubal, Nantom, and Boomer and Zapper. So the 2 quote-unquote newcomers, Nubal and Boomer and Zapper, struggling a little bit in the first game of the day. But hey, we've still got 4 more games to go. You've got kind of those first game jitters out of the way. And if those nerves are an issue, they're definitely going to be less so now that you've kind of got 1 game under your belt,
Yeah, I think the 2 favorites coming into today, Mismatch Sox and Aegon, are kind of living up to just that. I mean, first and second respectively. Nubal, though, I'm kind of surprised. They are one of the lesser known players here, but Nubal had such a good start to the game. Had the 6 cultists before Krugs, ended up with 9 cultists, but still going out in 6 there is a bit concerning. Boomer and Zapper, we talked about the Wukong chosen there, maybe keeping that for too long. First game jitters, they got to go out of the way. You got to come back. You only have 4 more games. We have 5 games total today instead of the 6 as we have for the past couple. So things need to be at a faster pace here for all these players.
Definitely. Let's take a closer look at the winning composition from game number 1. This was, of course, mismatched Sox composition. Of course, doing it with the Enlightened, which we see many people do. He actually ended up hitting the Dazzler Morgana chosen. I think it was a Morgana chosen and not the Lux, if I recall correctly. Either way, it's going to be a strong Enlightened comp. You put all your eggs in the Morgana and Talon basket and kind of watch it go to work.
I mean, even having suboptimal talent items as well, you have the Jeweled Gauntlet on the Talon, unfortunately, but it worked out. I kind of, saw Sox like laughing there at the end a little bit. Maybe he's like, how did I win that game? That's kind of a very Sox thing to say, especially from the position that he was at. I wouldn't be surprised, but I mean, he ended up transitioning really well. Has Yone to Lee Sin 2 with Thieves Gloves at the end there. Some really solid units there, and Sox, I mean, makes it happen once again.
Yeah, a few people might look at the Jeweled Gauntlet on the Talon and be a little confused as to why that's on there, but what Jeweled Gauntlet does is adds an extra 40% crit chance, and when the Talon isn't chosen, this actually bumps him pretty close, if not entirely, up to the 100% mark with the IE there as well. So it's really actually a pretty big spike in damage to have Jeweled Gauntlet on there. It's obviously not ideal, but definitely not a bad item by any means to have in that slot for Talon.
Yeah, certainly not going to be sad about that. It's interesting too how when we go back and we think about the decision for I forget who it was right now, but the decision between the Bramble Vest for Riven or the GA for Jhin, like the GA for Jhin is 99% of the time the right move. But then you think about that Talon having like an entirely crit based item build there. Not a single Bramble Vest in the lobby that I can recall seeing, and maybe that type of thing would have made a difference in the end.
For sure. One of those situations where when we saw him slam it, he didn't actually scout the lobby. And I'd be curious if he went back and actually looked through it and noticed, hey, there are 2 really strong Talon players in this game. Maybe I really need this Bramble Vest on this Riven. It might be a situation where, hey, maybe that would be the difference between winning this fight and that fight and bumping you right up to that 4th, 5th place instead of, I believe, Nantam was the one who did and ended up in 7th.
That's right. Ultimately, the item decisions you make in a game are most dependent on the lobby itself rather than what is quote unquote best in slot, But getting things started with game number 2, mismatched Sox with the tier start. Crowan, what do you think about the tier start?
I mean, tier start, we talked about it this weekend. It is solid. Did mention as well, perhaps Sox and other competitors like Aegon like that
Blue
Rod
buff
start. But blue buff isn't a bad thing to slam in the early game. It's one of the items that you're comfortable with. Sox is a very huge proponent of slamming items, making them work, so I wouldn't be surprised. Unless maybe, I don't know, some other component drops that he favors a bit more. I'm not exactly sure if he's going to go like Ludens or blue buff if those items were presented to him. But blue buff definitely a solid one.
I believe he loves Ludens, so if he does get a Rod, I would expect him to slam the Ludens. But blue buff is a very good item to have, even in the early game. It's always just a strong item at any stage in the game, and there are a lot of units that can make use of it. Certainly better than Shojin, I would say, so I would expect him to slam blue buff.
Yeah, especially on the Lissandra. Lissandra, one of the best early game units to carry that blue buff as well. Has the potential for 3 Moonlight as well. And while we see the Vanguard chosen Garen, I think if I were in this scenario, I'd be tempted to go the Moonlight and see what Sox will do though.
I think he picks up the Garen.
Okay.
He'll always
goes
play
for the Vanguard. And it's not a bad play, and you can still slam the blue buff on the Lissandra if you want to here. Even if you don't get the 2-star, it's still going to be pretty good. But you can kind of also wait it out as well, because there's always a chance to, possibly make a little bit of gold, be able to pick up the Diana and then level.
Yeah, he was guaranteed to get at least 2 gold there, unless he got really unlucky and got a Nico Self with nothing else. But it was very likely he would get gold. So now he can just level up this turn, slam in the Silas, and then blue buff the Lissandra, and have a pretty strong early game board. Oh, he's blue buff Silas.
He's thinking about it right now. Hands off the keyboard. He's full pondering right now.
The one that upgrades. The Silas is obviously stronger at this point in the game, but I think the Lissandra is the one you'd be more likely to run for longer. So yeah, he's
okay.
Then
it is an instant cast Silas, I suppose. So you do at this stage in the game using Silas's ability to slow down your opponent's ultimates because the rounds move so slowly anyway at this point. is pretty big.
So strong.
Not as much by hitting
did
the
happen
Garen, but
Garen. This Garen doesn't even cast. Just
yeah,
straight dead.
that's
Yeah.
cool. I like it.
Silas
Definitely.
slap.
It's almost like Sox is like a really smart player or something.
Yeah, I mean it's really good. I think a lot. Like I definitely would have done on Lissandra, and I definitely think that's the wrong play. It just I'm more used to seeing the blue buff on the Lissandra to not even
Yeah,
really
for sure.
consider it on
Oh,
the
yeah.
side. So definitely cool to see him make the correct play there.
Definitely a cool adjustment because I'm with you right there, Keen. I probably would have done Lysandra as well. It's just a staple, like in my mind thing. But no, the Silas not only has so much damage in the early game when took into tier 2, but also that mana reave as well. Going to get more ults off and more frontline as well to just provide time for your Lysandra to eventually get a bit of extra damage in as long or as well as your Diana. And he has that Diana too at this point. So Sox is off to a really good start here.
I didn't realize it was a cast with just 2 tiers. That's a really crazy thing to know.
Oh yeah.
Just slaps his team immediately.
You know, I think what this shows us too is that Sox wants to move off of these Moonlight champions as fast as possible, because you're right, where like Lissandra is one of the champions that you're going to run a little bit longer generally than some of the other early Moonlights if you're not going for a Moonlight build. So putting it on the Silas gives you probably a higher power spike early on in round 2 specifically, or stage 2 specifically, and then if he does sell it all around Krugs and moves to a different comp, you know, it's going to be easier to move that off then, I suppose.
Yeah, he's happy to sit like this. You saw the Silas slap twice there. The Maokai didn't ult, the Nidalee didn't ult.
Yeah.
Silas ulted twice before either of them, and both of them just died. You're gonna continuously happen throughout this stage with the Silas, so long as it's in a good position with its slaps. It's very, very, very strong opener for him. I actually would expect him to hold this for a little bit, especially if he gets fortunate here and starts hitting. Hey, if he can naturally hit this Lissandra, naturally hit the Silas, you're looking at a 3-star Silas through the mid game with a blue buff on it. That's really, really strong.
That'd be amazing.
If you don't find it, then maybe there's gonna be a reason to lean towards selling it. But if you do find it, yeah, that can definitely carry you through the mid game here. Sox even selling the cultist that he had on his bench, definitely gonna level up next round on 2-5 after this carousel. Put in a Tom Kench, if nothing else, just for that brawler buff to give Silas a bit more HP. But Silas is still carrying all of these fights right now, so definitely keeping it for now.
Yeah, this Silas is going off. This is like, you're watching Worlds, watching like Rookie play Silas or something. This is a really crazy.
Silas wasn't even in the game the last time I casted League. Well, last time I casted tournaments anyway in Korea. Casted League since then, but no big tournaments.
Silas one of those super high skill cap champions that just there's so much he can do with taking ability. So just really cool to see. And this game, very much simpler, right? Just the slap, no ult stealing, no nothing, just the slap.
Yeah. Just slap.
Yeah, be interesting to see in maybe in future sets the Silas come back and have the ult stealing capabilities. That would be very TFT
nuts.
to do. Yeah, I mean that'd be so cool. But
wow,
it could be really fun to see though, where he just every time he ults, just uses somebody else's ult randomly.
Yeah. I mean that seems risky to run on your board. You know, I mean that's like
it'd be so risky, but it's the type of mechanic that makes TFT really fun, right? You know, would love to do it.
I think it'd be fun. So looking at Kyun's board right now, he's got the Kindred with the IE and another glove as well. So pretty good set of items. I believe he does have another sword on his bench as well. So certainly a lot of usable stuff. Down at 82 for HP, so a little bit low there, but certainly with the tools to go back up again.
A little bit low, but not going to be super concerned here. It is playable from this spot. We know Kyun does like Talon a lot, and IE already built there. You have the brawlers just to get you through the early game with not too much losses. But Kindred's a really good item holder here. You're going to be killing a few units every round, or a couple of units, no matter what. And yeah, kills 3 here. Going to lose, but still, this is probably a good spot just to keep losing in.
Wow, is he going to kill 4?
This is a perfect loss. Like wants, because he wants to continue preserving this loss streak. As I mentioned yesterday, you really want to hold this 5 loss streak if you can look for it. So he's going to probably look to intentionally lose this round even in the best way possible, because it's an extra 6 gold that you'll get over the neutral round if you have the 5 loss interest. And without it, this is actually the difference between going 8th or actually doing a fight back. He like absolutely needs to lose this round.
Yeah. He's scouting out all the matchups and going to position in a way that allows him to, probably just kill enough units, but still lose the round as well.
Yeah.
I can't. Did he check to see if he already lost? Yeah. So he sold this unit.
Yep.
Yep.
At 3 units, he should almost certainly lose this fight.
Yeah, he gave up the 4 brawler buff. One less unit on the board.
This was the board he was scared of. He should definitely lose to it now. There's the upgraded backline ZZ Rat on the Lysandra because of Moonlight. That should be the difference. Yeah,
I
with
kindred though. Okay, good. What a relief. She's dead.
This is not a bad loss to take either. It's a 3-unit
Yeah.
loss. You definitely take that at this stage in the game. And so he's got the interest. He's going to have a lot of money going into stage 3 here. It'll be 50 gold at least going into stage 3, which is not a bad spot to be in. He's another one of those players you mentioned, Soju, last game, who's very comfortable with being low health and snapping back.
Yeah, Keen doing it as well. Picks up the Aphelios here, a couple of hunters, but for a 5 loss streak, being at 74 HP is definitely not the worst. You're kind of comfortable with the spot, especially keeping in mind the fact that Kuhn's going to have a lot of gold. Still is running with that chosen Maokai Brawler there. Maybe wants to go back up into 4 Brawler during the stage 3 though, but really we're just going to see Kuhn econ up and probably roll down at the 4-1 mark.
See what he gets. Looking for things like a sword. Okay, that's a Gargoyle Stone Plate. Could also be a QSS. Tier means, yeah, immediately. I was going to say slams that hand of justice. He wants it. Yeah.
I think people prefer the Hodge IE plus GA feels like a lot of people's preferred setup on the Talon. It's definitely an opponent combo. So he's at, like I said, in a solid spot. He probably would have liked to get a little bit more gold there, but you're already at 50 gold. And he didn't mind losing another fight, but I would be curious if he levels and cuts 1 interest here. I don't think it matters enough. So I would expect him to just sit and take another loss here.
That was one of the fastest item slams I've actually seen from getting an item drop from neutrals. Usually players will at least like think about it, but Kuhn already knew. He's just, before the tier even reached his bench, grabbed it out of the air, slammed the Hodge down. So it's just a little funny thing, but Kuhn's so confident in that direction that he's able to just instantly see it and recognize that that's where he wants to go.
Going up against Aegon, who has a Teemo with a lot of items. And I believe I remember Aegon doing a bit of a Teemo start in the early part of last game as well. So maybe a champion that he's starting to prefer a little bit more in some of these situations. Certainly go to the Morellos and the Ginsus, and it's going to win him the round.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Aegon mentioned yesterday that he just likes to force win streak early if possible. I'm very surprised that Kuhn ended up leveling there. He put in that cannon. If you watch that fight, the cannon did nothing. So maybe a small regret on his end to make that decision there. But you'll probably see him. I thought he would potentially sit and take 2 more losses, but he's probably uncomfortable with 65 health here. So it gets the Dazzlers in. Pretty big help here. He probably sells. Yeah, I don't think he's got to sell something to make 40 here.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I was gonna say either the Aphelios or the Vi.
I'm surprised
it is the Lux though.
I kind of like the Lux a little bit better because he's he's still at 3 brawlers.
Oh, he's actually resetting.
He's got to reconnect. Maybe a little bit of a bug or something. Yeah,
actually rage quit. That is that.
Yeah, definitely not the rage quit. He'll be back. Meanwhile, we are going to take a look at Boomer and Zapper, who had a bit of a rough start at the end of last game. But you want to talk about strong Teemos? That is definitely one. It's not strong enough this round, but it's not going to be the worst loss ever as he drops on the new bowel.
Definitely a good loss. You take those.
Yeah, for sure.
Just to 1 unit. Yeah, blue buff and a tier on that Jinx over there for a new bell.
Keep being reconnected, by the way, in case you're curious.
Not rage quit in game 2 of the tournament.
No.
Though that would have been a fun storyline to follow.
2 Enlighten now. He's got the Talon.
Yeah, the Talon already has IE. There's the Last Whisper just being held on the Teemo for now. Shojin, I guess, could go on the Morgana later on. This could just be an Enlightened composition.
It's a solid board. It's a pretty decent board, but his econ's really bad right now. So it's going to be an awkward. When he hits this 4-1, he's not going to have much gold to roll unless he gets really lucky with the PvE drops here. So definitely a low gold start. It seems like he has 7 components already. So I'm guessing he got a 2 gold opener into 0 gold on golems, which is why his money is low.
Right. That sounds accurate. Blinding this Kindred is so big. It's helping him turn a lot of these rounds from being like big losses into pretty acceptable losses, and he actually wins that one. So
just hard smurf that fight. There's not much you gonna do about that. So that's a great loss. He's hoping Nantam wins here so he can take the second pick on the carousel. Yeah, so he's looking at the fight here.
Nope.
Time will drop below him though, so
Mm.
third pick. A little unfortunate there.
Yep. See what
But
he
he
can find.
items. I believe he's looking for another, looking for a GA component. So he'll be happy with an armor here. Then there's 3 of them on the carousel.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
probably end up being able to get one there. There is the bow Sejuani, which might be appealing to some players. It could be like a ZZ Rot going on that, but Boomer and Zapper looking for this vest here, it looks like.
Yep. Angling towards the Jarvan decides to peel off towards the other vest as he saw that Non-Tom was grabbing that other one.
I wonder when he slammed the Shojin. It's obviously very good on Teemo right now, but it feels like a waste of that sword. If he hadn't slammed that Shojin, he'd have GA, IE, and Last Whisper already, which is pretty great items on either Talon or on Ashe or even Jhin.
Ooh, look at the shop. Double Morgana
Wow.
and a Shen here. If you're going Enlightened, you love to see that one.
So he's
Absolutely.
Teemo right now because he needs to start making money. He can, and that was the only way he's going to be able to hit up to 20 here.
So he can't get 4 Enlightened in.
Yeah.
I feel like you want to maybe. Do you want to maybe put the Shen in over the Pike or the Vi here just to be able to get Adept in?
I would sell the
and
Pike
just the Shen
for sure. Yeah, he's going to pull up the just so he can sell it. It's less for the Adept and more so he can hit 30 here. So he's going to sell off the bet there. Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say there needs to be a way to make 30 there, and he definitely found it. There's a bit of a awkward front line though. You just have a random Maokai with no synergies, but I mean it's gonna do enough to recover your gold, and Boomer and Zephyr needs to do that at this point. The Talon is strong, just need to get the money to then find the Talon 2 and the Morg 2, and you already have a pair of Morgs, so it's not bad.
Yeah, it's I'm not as worried about finding the Morgan and Talon at this point as I am about not having a Chosen, and he's not gonna have enough money to really roll that much, so he really needs to high roll on the stage 4-1 cares or 4-1 roll down here, and he needs to just whatever Chosen he finds first. I think he almost needs to slam it. You really cannot greed when you're in a situation with no money here. You need the Chosen to be able to have a fighting chance in that stage 4.
Yeah, do you sell the Maokai here to make sure you get Econ? Just play the Wukong for a couple Divine. It's not going to be quite as good, but I think that's the route you have to go.
You have to
if you're not worried about losing, I think it's the smart play.
You actually want to lose, take the double loss here, but he thinks he can win. That's the other thing as well. So
yeah,
I probably would strongly considered selling the Maokai there.
Yeah, I would have been very, very tempted to. Probably would have myself. But if the win happens here, you can still make 40.
Yeah, I wasn't very confident in the strength of his board, but maybe he feels a little better about it than I am.
It's close.
Well, this Talon needs to not get touched. Okay, I was gonna say, yep. And the healing from the Morgult not enough to keep her up. Yeah, it's not a terrible loss, but you're gonna be looking down at that 38 gold and being like, I wish it was 41 right now.
Yes, I mean that translates to 2 gold that he's going to be missing total from this carousel here, which is pretty unfortunate. Or not carousel, from this roll down here.
Sure. Finds 4 Enlightened, so that is going to be strong to buff up his talent and his Morgana a little bit more. Yeah, we'll see what he finds off the Wolves, though.
He just needs a Lux, and at the very least, he has the perfect level 7 comp. So you add Lux to this, and you have the standard level 7 roll for Lux. So we'll see what he ends up being able to find here. Like I said, the main thing is he needs to find a Fortune or a Chosen and just kind of run whatever one he hits first.
Not a lot of gold. Doesn't even make 50 here, and still has to spend all this gold to level up to 7. Everything on this board is 1 star here. Maybe, creating 1 turn, I think, is the correct play here, just to make up some of that gold difference that you're lacking.
Yeah, he pretty much just got no gold from PvE rounds. It's really difficult to play games like that.
Wow. Meanwhile, Aegon finds the Sejuani 2 already at 4-1. That feels pretty good.
And the already Chosen.
Yeah.
This is a really interesting board. It's a real beefy. You look at Ari and it's just surrounded by a lot of meat shields in front of her.
Ari Chosen, but no GA. He's got the Morella Namicon, which really isn't that important. You're going to put it on the Sejuani anyway, because Ari's should just be one-shotting people. But no ZZ Rot, no GA. So there's still a couple crucial item components he's looking for to kind of get this online.
Yeah, it's not standard items on Ari, but with being Chosen, it's just going to cast a lot faster.
Yeah.
And it should still be strong enough. Like, I don't know if he's going to end up committing to this or not because his items are so awkward, but it's definitely strong enough to carry you through this stage of the game, especially at 83 health. He's not looking for something that's going to just, hey, I need to win every single round. He's looking for something to make sure, hey, I need to just keep my health solid going into stage 5, and maybe I can decide then if I want to roll again.
Yeah. He's in a comfortable HP position here, 79. I think we've seen Aegon actually go through a whole game keeping an Ari with kind of awkward items. I wouldn't be surprised if we do see it again. He's continuing to roll here, finds a Cassiopeia upgrade, which still is huge, and has the option to go for spirits right now. Upgraded the Kindred and has the Yumi on the bench. So we will see 4 spirit here, which we haven't seen in a long time.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, with a bit of Vanguard Mystic, a little bit of Dusk to power up the Ari even more. Not bad.
Is he actually holding? Is he gonna make a divine spit?
Has the Warwick now. Ooh,
He's
okay.
To this 4 spirit in the mid game here is pretty interesting.
Yeah, the Deathblade and the Kindred is definitely a very committal sign there. The Ari, unfortunately, died pretty early on in that fight. The Sedge and the Kindred, though, still might be able to clean up.
Yeah. Well, it
Yeah,
is a Kindred too, and you're getting a lot of stacks on this Deathblade, and you're attacking a lot faster with the Spirit buff, so it worked out.
In over the Tom Kenshin. He's going to feel pretty strong about his mid game right here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, very little gold, but it's not going to really matter that much because his board's almost entirely upgraded, or at least all the core units are. So it's looking like he's probably looking to commit to this comp, actually. So it'll be fun to see how 4 Spirit ends up holding up. This is probably not a top 1 comp, but with everything having hit so far, I would feel pretty comfortable in my ability to top 4 from this spot if I were him.
Yeah, and we know Aegon's approach from the interview yesterday that if you start off strong, you don't need to play, super first wraith. You can just play standard consistent. Aegon already start off the day with a second. He's going to be comfortable, just like barely scraping into a top 4 this game to just keep those points consistent. But this is a comp to be able to do that.
Yep.
Yeah. Especially with Sox down at 36 HP, the winner from the first lobby, you're actually more invested in Sox doing poorly than you are necessarily in yourself doing particularly well here.
Well, or at least doing better than Sox anyway in the game. Meanwhile, Nantom looks like he's going to be able to get the win with the Diana 3.
Nantom, Sandra off there from really spiking hard. So Nantom's also sitting at really good health. So that Diana comp is going to be real difficult. Unfortunately, his econ looks a little rough. That would probably be the one thing that is preventing him from feeling super comfortable. But being just one Sandra away from hitting a really, really strong endgame carry unit is definitely still a good spot to be in.
Ooh, okay. Quickly, Aegon scouted Sox's board there, and Sox is very, very low HP. I'd be curious to see if Sox is able to come back from 2 kind of rough starts, but he had 5 hunters there. Hunter, Chosen, Ash, and 5 Hunter is a comp that I don't necessarily value that much, but I know some players do. I'm curious to you guys' thoughts on that 5 Hunter.
I don't like it. I think 500, you end up running a lot of useless units. I almost never even like running Kindred. And but with the recent nerfs to like 200 and 300, the 500 is one of the few that were untouched in that particular scenario. So I do feel like it has a lot of power. It's probably just a situation where he's playing what he found instead of playing what he thinks is optimal.
Yeah, I agree. I think as far as 500 goes, in a lot of cases, I agree with what Keen said, where you're going to end up including a lot of units you may not want to include. And so you have to think, am I going to do more damage just from having a better front line and having my existing better hunters alive longer than I am just with the 500 buff,
That thing was so good. Putting that Sedge over there just eats the whole back line with that ult.
Oh, yeah.
But it runs into a Zilean, unfortunately. Zilean is very bad news for Ari. Holy smokes.
Ooh, Ari is bad news for everybody else, but not enough. It was close.
Without the Zilean, that was a fight win for Aegon there. So
yeah, maybe.
Definitely
valuing that.
Kiting's at 8 cultists, so looks like he's in. Oh, so he has a Zilean already, so he's stuck looking for something else. I couldn't quite tell which one he was missing, but Kiting is 1 off from 9 cultists, was really good stabilization middle game. So it looks like he was rolling down to 0, looking for whatever it was, probably a Callisto or an Aatrox.
Yeah, it's very early to say, but this could be a non-Tom win in this lobby, actually. Non-Tom did hit the Lysandra 3, so has List 3, Diana 3. So the Diana 4 is now achieved with that Moonlight buff, and still win streaking at 70 is huge.
Yeah, it's very strong. But like I said, one of the things that was rough was looked like he was at level 5 with about 40 gold still. Yeah. So Econ's definitely rough. You definitely want to hit that a little earlier than right now.
Right.
My experience, when you're hitting the Diana at, I believe you hit it at 4-5, when you hit that comp on the line, that's a little too late to really be secure and feeling about a win. But it's definitely still a very good spot to be the top 4. So I would feel comfortable for sure if I was him, especially with that health pool.
Sox does have the Warwick 2 now and stuff. He's his board is not looking bad. I'm expecting him to maybe be able to sneak into the top 4, but at least he's given himself a chance.
It'll be rough from only sitting at 28 HP. It's if you're running the 5 hunters, a couple rounds go wrong, and that's just an elimination right there.
Right. It'd be a sneaky top 4 if anything. That'd be
sure.
his best case scenario. Finish this game. I think.
Do it. Yeah, if anyone could do it, Sox can though, I believe.
Totally. Yeah.
I'm kind of curious.
There's always the opportunity to reverse caster curse someone too. If we're like, well, they won't do too well, then sometimes that means they do well. So we might be helping.
He's gonna level up. He's play the Lulu, and he'll probably make a mage spat here. You can
also
the Vanguard spat as well. So he had a couple different options. I saw him holding the Lulu, so I thought he'd lean towards mage, but
the tier is just awkward. You probably put on Cassiopeia. At least I would put on Cassiopeia here.
I agree. Oh wow, he puts on the Aria. Okay, I like the Cassiopeia for the record, just because getting that earlier CC, that like slightly quicker CC, can make the difference sometimes. But it's definitely not bad on the Aria either.
I'm also greedy. I would have held the 2 empty slots so I can get potentially great items on Ari instead of the tier.
That is greedy. Make a choice, man. All right, well, it's a pretty good Riven, Ionic and Bramble Vest.
Yeah, Soju's running the Dust comp again, but you don't have enough damage when you play this comp to cut through Zillion. I believe it's a Zillion 2 already.
Yeah, I think so. Yep, it is. Also, Dusk Jin on the other side, so that Jin is going to be doing a pretty good extra chunk of damage.
Soju is 1 vein away from a vein 3 randomly.
One of those things where screw it, I'll just hold it. It's definitely not best to like. I don't even know if it makes a difference really.
How long has it been?
Yeah, I mean the vein comes in and has extra health, so maybe it stays alive longer against like a Talon. That's really the best case scenario there for it.
Yeah, I mean, vein 3 without any items is just like kind of, it's just an ornament basically. It's just like, ooh, wow, look at my 3-star, but it's not going to do that much damage.
Yeah, usually. I did actually. I think I was watching a Soju stream a couple days ago, and Soju had a random Runeans that dropped from like a neutral round, was running a Dusk, and put the Runeans on the Vein. Vein 2 did a few thousand damage, so nothing to scoff at, I guess. If you get the Vein 3, probably don't want to aggressively dedicate items to her, but if you randomly find one that can't find anybody else, it's still gonna be impactful a little bit.
In the rare late game Vein itemization case,
those items that Jin has are actually better on Vein. I'd be curious. Interesting to see. Gets the Vein 3. Does he actually sell and move those items over to Vein? It'd be really funny, at least.
Maybe
remake Jin. So
maybe
we also just saw him fight Sox, who
oh my, he does find the Vein 3. I don't think you're wrong in suggesting that at all. Like those aren't the greatest Jin items, but they would be really good for Vein.
And I think if you find another Jin, I would definitely consider making that pivot.
Would be interesting.
It's gonna be hard to find a whole another Jin 2 though, and
for sure,
a lot of damage. The Zillion is actually really, really good. Finding it again, we talked about it into this matchup here against Aegon. Aegon's dropping pretty quickly here. This Arya is not doing enough work with this Force Spirit.
And it's really awkward. He had a lot of health early, and it seems like that's not going to be enough to make up for the fact that he's running a really scuffed comp. It's like the Force Spirit without really. You don't really need the Spirit to buff the Spirit units yourself. Like the idea that Spirit has been effective in this comp when it's used to buff like a Zed carry or the Aphelios carry, but buffing the Arya attacking faster is kind of like, hey, you're getting bit by more mosquitoes, but still mosquitoes.
You're always going to have a couple people in the lobby that are just trying to play for top 4, just trying to survive. And in this lobby, like Sox, Aegon, definitely in that unfortunate position. It's no fun, but if you can turn a rough game into a top 4, you feel really good.
Yeah, Sox is a couple fights away from dying, but he did have the Ezreal 2 and the Chosen Ash, so perhaps still a good spot to stabilize.
Yeah, he's on a couple win streak right now. Did lose like one, or he lost that last round, I believe. Could still stabilize though. Soju grabbed a redemption onto this carousel. We actually did have one elimination this game as well. I believe it was Boomer and Zapper went 8th place yet again. So double 8th is definitely an ouch to start the day.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult to top 4 out of that. You'd have to basically win the next 3 in a row.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Soju is deciding to sit. I'm guessing he's going to roll it down again after the neutral, but a lot of people actually end up rolling here, and he has a few units he can still. Or I guess I would roll because I'd be looking for another Jin, but he's probably just going to keep those items on Jin.
Yeah, I mean, Jin can certainly make use of them.
New battle with the tier 3 Jinx over there. Haven't seen that, but we do have a sharpshooter.
Wow, yeah.
And the Jinx seems to get insta kill.
Ah, yes.
Yep.
There it is.
Pulled in and killed.
There was a there was a couple patches where sharpshooters were very strong, and a Jinx 3 would be a lobby winning condition. But then again, at the end of the day, that Aatrox can always take that away from you.
We've all played with the AD carry that just face checks, seems to get hit by every single CC.
Oh yeah, man. I'm a support main, so
I
get a better view of that than most.
You have your AD carry, they're like 10-0 coming out of the lane, and then you hit the mid game, and suddenly your AD carry just face checks everything. That's Jinx.
That's why I'm the bloodthirsty support man. I get all the kills. I don't trust my AD carry. I trust me.
You've been burned.
Support all the way. I was playing Annie support before it was cool.
Oh man,
I'm talking like 2013, man.
Yeah, way back.
And then Wolf busted out for SKT. I'm like, you're welcome, man.
There you go. You inspired it.
Tabe as well, playing the old Annie support and Worlds.
Yep. It was all me. The originator.
Invented by Doa.
I'm sure they saw my unranked games on the NA server, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, what a genius!"
That's on to something.
Right. So we finally hit the neutral round. You should see Soju roll down here. His board's way too weak. He can't go 9. If you can't go 9, you have to roll. But unfortunately, he also doesn't really have that many upgrades left. So his board is getting very close to being capped without really feeling like it's that strong. In my opinion, I think, again, consider selling off the Jin if you can hit another one. It didn't seem like that many other Jins were in play at the moment. I believe it was just the Jinx 3 player. But otherwise, not too many upgrades left for Soju here.
Yeah, Aegon down to 5 HP. The Ahri still remaining to be an issue on Aegon's side, not dealing enough damage. Aegon could go out in the bottom 4 here. Nubel low as well. Mismatched Nox even still hanging on with 17 HP, but this lobby is getting real close for this bottom 4.
Yeah, it's kind of what we were talking about, where Aegon and Sox are just trying to get into the top 4, just barely maybe this game. Looks like Sox has a little bit better chance of doing it than Aegon does at the moment, but we'll see what happens. A lot of people are going to be spending some gold right now to try to get stronger.
Oh, there's another Jin.
Yep.
Does he make the swap? I think Soju won't do it, but it'd be interesting to see it happen.
I would love to see it happen because I'm kind of curious. I don't think he'll do it either. Yeah.
No.
I think you'd need a Jin 2 if you were going to do that. At least you wouldn't want to swap a Jin 2 for a Jin 1. I don't think you put that much faith in the Vayne 3.
Finds the upgrades though. Finds Aatrox 2 and Shen 2. So the board all of a sudden is still, pretty strong.
Definitely stronger. I don't know if those were the upgrades that like make a huge difference, but they're definitely good to have.
Yeah. Extra front line, allowing Jin more time to deal damage. Riven as well a little bit. And
So
looks like he'll win this round.
I believe so. It looks like he should win this one here.
Yeah. Beats the Ghost anyway.
Yeah, which is definitely a flip. I believe he lost to Sox when they fought, actually.
Yeah, Sox is out, by the way.
Sox -3 into 6th, though. I would say that's not a bad finish for him, considering we saw him really low in the early mid game. So he did manage to come back. The Aegon's also breathing a sigh of relief, having been at one point really high in health, and then maybe committing a little too hard to the play whatever you hit style, and being a little punished here for sitting on this awkward comp for too long.
If you're bleeding that much HP as Aegon, you're kind of like, breathing a sigh of relief if you're even 5th place here. It's like, okay, I didn't get top 4, but whatever. Like, I was looking to maybe go like out 7th right now. So a couple more points will matter. Every single point matters in a tournament like this.
2nd and a 5th is not a bad way to start the day. So
it'd be kind of wild though if our 1 and 2 players from game 1 were bottom 4 for game 2.
True.
I mean, the lobby is pretty wide open then.
These are all great, right?
Yeah, a lot of good players in our lobby, obviously, to make it this far. Non-Tom right now at the top on a win streak, trying to keep that win streak alive, but he's not going to be able to, I don't think.
We're trying to watch the fight, and Soju's
maybe he will. Yeah. Soju doesn't want to show us that Diana. I didn't even see it up there for a while. Yeah, it's another win for Non-Tom. That Diana 4 is so hard to kill.
We're firing Soju as a cameraman. He will no longer be an observer.
That's right.
Aegon dropping in 5th there, so we do have our top 4, Soju, Kyun, Kiting, and Non-Tom still at the top there. Now, Non-Tom seemed to recover a lot of that gold loss from rolling so aggressively to find that Lysandra, but has preserved enough HP at this point to still be in a really good spot.
Yeah, he's definitely feeling great. I mean, Diana is a really strong endgame comp, and the thing you're worried about when you're playing Diana at the end is, hey, is somebody getting close to 3 Jinx or NS Jinx, 3 Ashe or 3 Talon? And without that seeming to happen, I think he's probably feeling pretty comfortable. I don't know if he ends up beating the 9 Cultist comp that we see here. I haven't really seen enough of that matchup to be able to see, so I'm excited to see if Diana can match up to this big boy Galio here or not.
Yeah, Galio jumped right in the back lines, but that Riven, funny enough, was kind of protected a little bit because it was Zephyr at the beginning of the fight, which normally you wouldn't want, but that means she was just able to come in fairly untouched. That's a win for Soju.
Yeah, Galio stuck. Kyun also just beat
Non-Tom.
The Ashe comps can handle Diana. If Ashe has good itemization, usually you need a Last Whisper, especially if the Diana has the Titan's Resolve. And as long as Ashe is on the opposite side of the Diana and you can CC the Diana, you can actually burst it down before it's able to cast its ultimate.
Yeah, I was going to say that depends a lot on the positioning there until, that Ashe 3 is reached. But checking in with Non-Tom now. And Non-Tom has 3 items on the Lysandra as well as the Diana. So it's going to be a 50-50 which one gets upgraded there. I don't know about this one.
He took an Assassin Spat, so he's going to level and add a Talent or Pike. Wait, what's he missing? He's missing 1 Sin.
Yeah, has the Akali?
Yeah, he's just gonna play something else. I actually think 6 Assassin is useless. He should just sit at 4 with the Spat at this point. Just drop the Katarina entirely, go up a level, and you can add Shen, he can add Yone. So you can go Shen over Yumi, and then add Yone as his 9th unit to get 3 Adept in. You can also add Azir. There's a lot of options you have available to you from this spot.
Going up against the 9 Cultist board from Kiting is hard, and the Lysandra drops. So Diana once again called on to carry.
Yeah,
Diana, Jhin though.
Galio. It kind of depends on if shot can come in at the right time, but it doesn't seem like it.
All right, Pike gets the stun on the Lux right before she would ult, but it doesn't look like Galio is going to be able to do, or Jhin rather is going to be able to do enough damage, and that's Non-Tom knocking him out. So down to our top 2, it's going to be Non-Tom and Soju.
Soju actually knocked out Kyun too. Kyun was the one that actually defeated Non-Tom in the previous fight, so definitely a good news for Non-Tom, who actually beat Soju earlier. He's probably feeling comfortable about his ability to do so again.
Right.
Yeah. The Vayne has items now. She has Thieves' Gloves. Not a great roll, though, right there. It's a Giant Slayer, which is fine, but Titan's Resolve not going to be too good. Just positioning from Non-Tom here. Wants to have that Diana jump into the backline, but still have time to get to those threats.
Giant Slayer is very good, actually, into this Diana. It's one of the... If you see somebody playing a Diana comp, Giant Slayer on your backline carry is actually very strong. It's 90% extra damage onto anybody with too much health. So this Vayne, unfortunately, gets one shot by the Diana, but it is a good item to have in this situation. Doesn't seem like he has any damage left, though. This should be a 1 fight and thus a 1 game for Non-Tom.
Yeah, I would think it should be enough damage here to finish him off. Only 18 HP for Soju. So it should be the end of game number 2, and will be Non-Tom nearly getting the win. 2 HP to go yet. It's time for a victory lap.
But Soju's options here are basically, hey, you hit Riven 3 somehow, or you hit Jhin 3, and even then you maybe still lose.
Or Zillion 3.
Oh, Zillion 3 would be quite.
He only has 1 zillion though, so he's a ways off. It's unlikely.
He does have 40 gold, so he's going to be rolling down just a bit here. And I mean, yeah, not too much to be able to grab besides Zillion 2, though. With only 50 gold to roll, you're not going to be finding 6 Jins or 6 Revens in that.
Right.
Not with that attitude. So
yeah,
you should actually is you're going to lose it. You should sell your chosen Cassio and roll and pray to hit chosen Riven or chosen Jhin and then 3 others. I think that's actually viable.
Non-Tom just got a Nikos too, so the rich get richer here.
Yeah, Non-Tom's so strong. This Non-Tom should win. I'm curious to see if Soju's made the play that I said he should make, which is sell the chosen cast, but maybe he thinks Zillion 2 could be enough to win the fight for him.
Non-time just looking for another Azir or something to try to use that Nikos to get a 2-star 5 cost, but not even going to find that.
So Soju just rolled down to look for the upgraded Zillion.
He did get it.
Yeah, it looks like he did hit it, so it
It's
certainly
kinda big,
helped.
actually. Yeah, it's Vanguard.
Get into Sins, so
Yeah.
But
It is big, but is it big enough? It's hard to.
Dead. So he rolled the Giant Slayer once again on the Vayne. So a couple of rolls back to back. Isn't that literally the same roll that he had last?
Yeah, it is. Titans Giant Slayer
Wow.
once again. Now all of a
Wow.
sudden, Non-Tom's 1 round from potentially being eliminated. Soju holding on that 2 HP might make the difference. There is Lee Sin 2 potential for Non-Tom. Does he put it in?
So Zillion was actually also better than Yumi here. I'm surprised he still has the Yumi on the board.
Yeah. Definitely agreed there. You're not really even providing Spirit in there, and even if you were, Spirit's not going to be great.
Yep.
I
agree.
Will the swap be made though?
I agree. You know, the Yumi ult is nice and all, but at this point in the game, just bringing people back is going to be big.
Would have let him roll once more too to either find one set or one Zillion to ult. So he also could have considered selling the Lux and moving those items over to the Lee Sin. I think he made a few misplays.
Look at this last Whisper on the Vayne 3.
Yeah.
What are these Thieves Gloves rolls right now?
Yeah, you got some good rolls. And that's going to be
crazy.
That kills the Diana. But I also, like I said, I think Non-Tom made pretty critical errors down the stretch here. This is a fight I feel like he should have won.
Wow. Soju, though. Non-Tom in second. Soju wins game number 2. And that was a pretty wild ending. Look at him. He's got a big smile on his face. I think he knows he kind of got away with one there, too.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that was a game Non-Tom threw away. Non-Tom, there were a couple different moves he could have made. Yumi needed to be off the board. He needed to sell the Lux and move those items over to Lee Sin. Assassin Lee Sin with Shojin's in that situation there can 1v9 the fight for you. The Lux isn't doing much at that point in the game. So a little disappointed from my end to see him not make the pivots to really secure that win there, especially with the gold and the lead that he had. He also had a couple turns to think about it. I think he'll be beating himself for that one. I think he knows that he should have won that game. Soju, of course, is very happy camper to take that one.
Yeah, I mean, on Soju's side as well, I mean, I think it was a good play. We talked about itemizing the Vayne 3, so knowing that the Thieves Gloves probably was better on that because just giving himself the chance to roll good items like he did in the first place is a good move. And then finding the Zillion 2, once he had that, that's a huge upgrade for that board as well. So, you know, Soju, I kind of think, conversely, making a lot of really good late game decisions as well.
Yeah, perfect. Soju down the stretch, I would say, or close to perfect play. And I think a lot of mistakes from Non-Time kind of resulted in that.
Both of those things happening made Soju, you know, win that game. You can go down to 2 HP, still find a comeback at that point. 3 fights in a row with fortunate Thieves Gloves rolls. Soju recognizing that's the item to be able to do it. And yeah, after the Zillion 2 is found in that roll down, Diana just wasn't able to do enough there.
Let's take a look at the scores after 2 games. We kind of know, but it's good to take a look at how things are breaking down. Soju right now with 14 points. He is in the lead. And then we got a 3-way tie between Sox, Kyun, and Kiting is hard at 13 points as well. Aegon close behind. And like we talked about, we had our top 2 players from the first game end up in the bottom 4 for this one, for game number 2. And so that really does open up the lobby right now. It's really players like Newbowl and Boomer and Zapper that really need to step it up in a major way to have a chance to break up into that top 4. We still have 3 games remaining, so there's a chance, but there's a lot more work for those guys to do than some of the other players in our lobby right now. Let's take a look at the final comp as well from game number 2. Like we mentioned, this was Soju's comp, and hey, Vayne 3 coming through in a big way in the end of those Thieves Gloves rolls.
Yeah, that Vayne 3, usually you wouldn't go for it, but you just had so many that like eventually you'll find the Vayne 3, and it ends up, kind of making the difference there at the end, I think. So really good play by Soju here. The Jhin items are not optimal, but hey, you don't need always optimal items. It's still good to slam those items. They can go on these carries, and it can still be good in the composition. Look at the positioning here. Knowing that with the Diana jumping in, she'll get stuck on those units like the Riven, the Thresh, and the Shen right there, and allow time for your backline sharpshooters to deal damage, allow time for your Zillion to get all those ultis off as well. So really well played, really well positioned by Soju here.
Yeah, just really, this is not a board you would look at. Like if I showed any of these players in this lobby this board before this game started, and I asked them, hey, is this a top 1 board to you? I bet you most of them would say no. So really hats off to Soju for being able to make a comp like this work and secure a first place from it. It was a very close lobby heading into stage 6. So to be able to win with this kind of board requires a lot of really smart positioning and understanding of who you're going to face and what you need to do in terms of moving units around in order to do so. So big win from Soju. I think it's a very good flex of skill to be able to take a first in that situation.
Honestly, I've seen boards like this even bought for in some scenarios. So yeah, again, to be able to first with this is huge skill gap right there.
I feel like
it's another Mystic Chosen win as well. And we talked yesterday about how Mystic Chosen is one of the I believe I read a while ago, one of the highest win rate Chosens out there. And you can see why in this late game situation, things like the Lissandra 3, some of the ult damage from the Diana is going to be negated in a big way from that Mystic 4 buff. So being able to kind of work that in anyway just made the comp robust enough along with the CC to survive.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely the 4 Mystic ended up being a pretty big difference there. You saw that the Diana on the spell rotation was very close to killing the Ribbon or the Shen a couple times. And without the 4 Mystic, it would have been the difference there. So really good understanding to know, hey, 4 Mystic is strong. I'm just going to run it and not make any weird gambits. I just need to hit the Zillion 2 at the end, and he ended up doing it and ended up paying out. So again, kudos to Soju for a well-played game from what rough situation.
Sure enough. Well, 2 games down, 3 more to go here in our final day of the Giant Slayer TV TFT Fates and a regional qualifier. We're going to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back for more action right here. So don't miss it. See you in a few. Do you know when the next TFT event is? I do, because I use Juked. If you're a TFT esports fan like me, you'll love Juked because they've got everything you need to stay in the know, such as schedules, streams and live scores, pick'ems and leaderboards, and news and original content. Sign up now at juke.gg/TFT and get everything you need to know to follow TFT esports. Juked, your home for TFT esports.